said, like you said about being able to control it properly is one thing that we have to look at, because I can still, sometimes you might not see me. I can still wear a smile on my face, but inside I might be fuming about something. And it's like, and I was either trying to suppress it, but then it might have gotten to the point where I was suppressing it too much, and then it just, kept bubbling up until it eventually boiled over. Like, and when I knew I definitely had anger issues was when I started like tearing up stuff. Like I was breaking stuff, my own stuff. And then I was like, and I look back at it and I'm like, bruh, you paid for that. Why you all of a sudden, you breaking it and now you got to go buy something else because you done broke it or something. But I think that's also where, where we can't judge a book by its cover, because we don't know what's inside the book. Right. We don't know what somebody may be going through. We don't know how they may try, maybe trying to handle the situation or whatever, what have you. So it's like when we see people and when we help people that may be going through anger issues, it helps to see those symptoms, to see those signs. But then a lot of times, just like this pandemic, you may not see the signs until it's already crept up on you.
Right.
But I will say, kudos to all that information, because it is a lot with anger. Because like I said, it's like what Forrest Gump said. It's like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna
get. Exactly.
Because like I said, everybody tries to handle it in different ways, and it's gonna come out in different ways depending on the person. So I try to smile, and but sometimes like Sister Lacey said, if you push that wrong button, what you not gonna do, it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out. And we just have to do like Martin said, woosah, take that breath. I might have to spin around a couple times, but like, okay, let me calm myself down. Don't send that email that you was gonna send when you was hot. Come back to it, reread it, be like, delete this. You do it once you calm down, and and sometimes that's when, as we would say, Sister May said, when you get angry, that's when isolation and loneliness become your best friend.
Right.
Just push yourself away for that moment, get your calmness down before you, like I said, go ham on somebody, and some stuff gets said, some stuff gets done that you can't take back. So, but yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that was fantastic. Yeah, two great presentations tonight, Sister Knighton. A couple things that stand out that I think we all need to take note of. Okay, you pointed out that a lot of times it's anger, but it's masked. Anger is masking a deeper issue. Always got to remember that. Okay, that's good stuff. Okay, because when people have an issue and they don't really want to deal with the issue,
right,
they'll cover it up with anger so that they don't have to deal with the real issue. Excellent. Okay, and what they try to do is roar like the lion. Okay, and it's to scare you away so that you don't get to the heart of the matter. So keep that in mind. You can't just look at the anger and think that's the issue. Great point. Okay, and then secondly, I love the practical suggestions on that last slide. Like Sister May said, man, those are just some stuff that we can all have somewhere, that we can see regularly. Okay, breathe. That kind of stuff. Okay, just gentle reminders. Okay. Stay focused. I mean, those were just some great suggestions. So yeah, good stuff. I thought that was it. Two wonderful presentations, man. Listen, y'all been nailing it with these things. I'm so glad we did it. Y'all have been nailing it with these things. Okay. all stuff guaranteed you're gonna see when you're working with people, even when you're not working with them. As Sister Lacey said, even when you're not working with them, you're gonna see it. And by the way, you say 50% of the people who come in for counseling got something to do with anger.
Mm-hmm.
But don't forget the mask. Okay? It's a deeper issue a lot of times. Right? Okay. Sister Lacey, I believe you up next week. Fantastic. What are we going to hear about next week?
Depression.
Oh, that's oh, boy. Okay. All right. Sounds good. Okay, now, did we agree last week that book reviews are due next week?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, book reviews, The Spirit of the Discipline, are due next week. Okay. And let's see, what else? Book reviews due next week. Sister Lacey is up next week. I think that might be the housekeeping that we needed to take care of. I think that's it. Everybody got your change lab reports back? Okay, I sent those back to you. Okay. Great job on the change labs. Okay? I mean, you all had good nuggets on that. Sister Lacey, I don't think I got yours.
I forgot to send it in. I'm sorry.
Okay. That's okay.
I
Send it in,
was looking for the to upload it, and it never came up to upload.
Send it by, and that's on me. So just send it to me by email, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, that's on me. So don't even worry about it. Okay. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to look at behavior therapy. That's what we're looking at tonight. Okay, so what I want you guys to do, we're going to spend about 30 minutes and we'll see how far we get. Chime in with your comments or question as we go through the lecture. Get your questions answered. So don't be afraid to take it off mute. Get in with your questions, whatever you need, so that you get your questions answered. Okay? All right. So, what is behaviorism? Looks at overt behaviors to know the person. It is believed that all behavior is learned, and humans are not a mere product of their sociocultural conditioning, produced in a product of his or her environment. Okay, that's what it believes. It's used to treat a wide range of psychological disorders, such as anxiety. There you go right there, Sister Lacey. Depression, substance abuse, eating disorders, domestic violence. Sister May talked about that tonight. Sexual problems, pain management. Okay, hold on. Y'all think y'all might be seeing some of that with some of your clients? Huh? I imagine you might want to learn some behaviorism. If it's treating all that, you might want to learn some behaviorism. If it's treating depression, substance abuse, eating disorder, domestic violence, sexual problems, pain, and you might want to learn some behaviorism. Using fields of developmental disabilities, mental illness, big in education. Oh, my wife is a special ed teacher. I tell her every time, I say, every time I get ready to teach behaviorism, I think of you. Because long before I started getting into counseling, she was big into behaviorism. I mean, she's a special ed teacher, and they have to be big working with special ed students. Okay? It's all about managing that behavior. Okay? Psychology, business. Man, listen, what part of life is not about managing the behavior? When you really think about it. Based on the principles and procedures of the scientific method. Systematic adherence to precision and empirical evaluation. Okay. Empirical. Okay, Minister. Unmute. Empiricism. Empirical evaluation. Break it down for us. It's simple terms. What am I talking about?
I was gonna say,
The hint is the scientific method. Okay, Sister May, what are we talking about?
she's like, huh?
You muted, Sister May.
I'm trying. Now start back over with the question. I was munching on my chip.
Okay, the scientific method, empirical evidence, empiricism. Lacey, Sister what? Sister Knight, somebody, what am I talking about?
You're talking about the science, the facts?
True, and how do you come up with them? When we talking
Theory?
science? No, it's not quite. You start with theory.
You prove it.
Say it again.
You have to prove the.
You're on the right track. Come on, Sister Lacey, give it a shot. Sister Lacey, science. What are we talking about? How about this? The opposite of faith. Am I making sense, Sister Knighton?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Science is something you can see, feel, and touch.
There you go. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying right there. Okay? It's all based upon what you can see. There it is, right there. It's all based upon what you can see. And I'll be honest with you. When y'all counseling people, I'm going to tell you right now, do not start at the deep level. Don't psychoanalyze them. I wouldn't recommend it. Start with what you can see. That's where you start at. In other words, start with their behavior. That's where you start at. Okay? And once you start with the behavior, then you can go deep with them. Okay? That's the best approach to start when you're counseling. Start with a concrete SMART goal. Okay, I know y'all know SMART goals. Somebody tell me, what's a SMART goal? Even if you don't have to tell me exactly what it means, what's a SMART goal? Ms. Knight, come on, what's a SMART goal?
A SMART goal. Okay. Off the top of my head.
It's a goal, right? It's a goal, right? It's a goal. What kind of goal?
Yes.
It's a SMART goal.
It's a
What's a
smart goal
SMART goal?
or an easily obtainable goal.
One that is easily attainable and very clear whether you made it or not.
Right.
That's what makes it SMART. That's where you start at. You start with a goal that you know the person can reach, and it's clear as day whether they reached it or not. That's where you start. Minister, talk to me. Am I making sense? Come on, counselor. Am I making sense?
Yeah, because the biggest thing is you want to make it like I said, you make it easy, you make it simple, because you want it to be something that they can grasp onto positively. Because like I said, the biggest thing, one of the hardest things with counseling is, like you say, giving them a big enough goal that they can't reach, and if they can't reach it, they will give up.
There you go.
Right. Right.
There you go. That's it. You want to encourage the process. So you want to make it something that they can reach, they can do. You start there. And once they do that, what you do next, Sister Lacey?
Once you make sure that they can attain that goal, then you help them to continue through it, go through the process of, like you say, starting with their behavior, with things that you can see that maybe, like I was talking about, how I was raised and what impacted me from a child, and then you're going through and having them to talk their way through it to it.
So I sat down with you, I made a goal, I worked hard, I reached my goal. But I know we ain't finished yet.
Right.
So what do?
You continue on to the next step.
There you go. You set another goal. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying, right? You set another one. This time, maybe a little bit harder. That makes sense? There you go. Concepts and procedures are stated explicitly, tested empirically, and revised, as Sister Lacey just said, continually. Huh? Making sense, Sister Knighton?
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go. Stated explicitly, tested empirically, Sister May said, scientific method, what you can see, and then you revise it continually. Deals with current problems instead of, look at that, instead of past childhood.
Behaviors.
Huh? Who dealt with childhood?
Freud.
There you go. There you go.
What he said.
Huh?
I was just saying what he said.
So there you go. So this one is dealing with the problems right now. Freud was trying to peel back the onion. Clients expected to assume an active role. Assumes change can, okay. What's counseling about?
Change.
Y'all know that from your mid. There you go. There it is. Assumes change can take place without insight of underlying dynamics. I ain't got to know your childhood to help you change. That's what it's saying. That's what it's saying. I don't need to know all your issues in order to help you change. That's behaviorism. focuses on assessing overt and covert behavior directly. Treatment interventions are individually tailored to specific problems. Okay, so I'm gonna sit down with you, hear what's going on. We're gonna talk through some stuff, and I'm gonna give it a plan just for you. This is what I want you to do. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. I want you to do this. That's for minister. Now, when Sister Lacey come to see me for counseling, I'm gonna sit down, I'm gonna listen to her, and I'm gonna hear what she's going through, and I'm gonna have her do D, E, and F. I had minister do A, B, and C, but she gonna do D, E, and F. Their plans are different. Okay. Okay, it's called classical conditioning. Pioneered by one Ivan Pavlov. Believes that neutral stimulus paired with significant stimulus to elicit a certain result. His most famous experiment involved conditioning a dog to salivate at the ringing of the bell. Y'all remember that one?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Let me see. Let's see here. Y'all hear that?
Mm-mm.
No.
No sound? Okay, hang on a second.
Learning. So what's the difference between them? Classical conditioning was first described by Ivan Pavlov and is the association of a stimulus with an involuntary response. It focuses on involuntary automatic behaviors. Pavlov noticed that a neutral stimulus before a reflex causes an association. He conducted an experiment in which he rang a bell before presenting dogs with food. When dogs see or smell food, they salivate, even though it is not a learned behavior. Rather, their salivating is an unconditioned response to seeing food, which is an unconditioned stimulus. Of course, a dog would not normally salivate in response to a random stimulus like a bell ringing, since such an event is a neutral stimulus. However, Pavlov found that if he always rang a bell before presenting dogs with food, then they eventually began to salivate as soon as they heard the bell, even when there was no food around. At this point, the bell had become a conditioned stimulus, and the dog salivating to its sound was a conditioned response. Operant conditioning, first described by B.F. Skinner, is the association of a voluntary behavior with a consequence. Skinner found 3 types of environmental responses, or operants, that can follow a behavior: reinforcers, punishers, and neutral operants. Reinforcers increase the probability of a behavior recurring. Punishers decrease the probability or extinguish the behavior, and neutral operants do neither. To demonstrate positive reinforcement, Skinner put a rat in a box with a lever. On accidentally bumping the lever, the rat discovered that it would receive a food pellet. With this positive reinforcement, the rat learned to keep pressing the lever. Negative reinforcers remove unpleasant stimuli. To demonstrate negative reinforcers, Skinner put a rat in a box which had a mild electric current that caused the rat discomfort. On wandering around the box, the rat randomly hit a lever to turn the current off. When exposed to the electric current in the box, the rat learned to always press the lever, something called escape learning. Similarly, Skinner eventually also taught the rat to flip a switch that prevented the electric current from being turned on in the first place, something called avoidance learning. Punishment weakens a behavior by linking it to an aversive consequence. Just like reinforcement, it can occur through the addition or removal of a stimulus. For example, if a rat receives an electric shock when it pushes a button, it will avoid that button. Or, if you're an unfortunate raccoon that decides to wash his cotton candy before eating it, only to watch it dissolve before your very eyes, that is punishment through the removal of a positive stimulus. It should be noted that punished behavior is not forgotten, but is suppressed. If a punishment is no longer present, the behavior returns. Also, unlike reinforcement, it does not guide towards the desired behavior, but only suppresses undesired behavior. There have been further experiments done with rats in the Skinner box. After a rat has received operant learning and has learned to press a lever to receive a food pellet, what happens if the lever is pressed but no food pellet is received? At first, the rat will keep pressing the lever, but eventually it will stop, and the behavior will be extinguished. Why press this thing without payment? However, a rat can learn or unlearn a behavior at different rates with different schedules of reinforcement. This has been termed the response rate, the rate at which behavior repeats, and the extinction rate, how soon the behavior stops. Let's see what happens with 5 different reinforcement schedules. With continuous reinforcement, the response rate is slow and extinction is fast. With a fixed ratio reinforcement schedule, where positive reinforcement is offered after a fixed number of repetitions of a behavior, the response rate is fast and extinction is medium. For a fixed interval reinforcement schedule, where positive reinforcement is provided as long as a quota is fulfilled within a given time schedule, the response and extinction rates are medium. For a variable ratio reinforcement schedule, where positive reinforcement is given after an unpredictable number of repetitions, the response rate was fast and extinction was slow. This is the equivalent of gambling. For a variable interval reinforcement schedule, where a reward is given if a quota is fulfilled within an unpredictable amount of time, the response rate is again fast and extinction is slow. If you like this video, like and subscribe.
Okay. So we're talking rewards and punishment. Where we see that play out in our society.
I was gonna say, first of all, everywhere.
Okay.
Let me say.
Definitely in schools. Definitely in schools.
Yeah, definitely in schools.
Raising children.
Raising children.
The time out, you'd be good. We're gonna all have a good Christmas, or we're gonna go. You can just be quiet in the car. We're gonna get some donuts.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's right. Big debate on whether it's effective or not. Okay. Is the what? The penal system. Okay. The penal system. There's a debate that says the penal system does not work. What's it supposed to do?
Rehabilitate.
Supposed to rehabilitate, but also what?
Supposed to punish.
Punish, which means that they're thinking if you get punished, you what?
You're going to stop doing what you did.
You're going to stop doing whatever it is you did. What they find in reality is what? People who go to prison oftentimes do what?
Recommit the same crime.
There you go. There you go. That's the debate right there. Does it really work? Does it really work? Huge debate on that.
It works in some. Maybe not in all, but it does work in some.
Listen, I hear you. I mean, that's why I think it's a debate. You
Some
know?
of it is the crime doesn't fit the sentences. You take a young, I don't want to say a young African American, but you take a young boy that's 17 who may have robbed a store, had a gun, they didn't even get no money, and you put him in prison for 15 years. I mean, hard prison. That is, it's not really a rehabilitation. And when they get out, they've missed the chance of going to school and doing things, and not to mention the abuse they probably go through. Then you just throw them out. The families don't know them anymore. They don't really want them in their homes. So, and then this harsh parole system, to where you just got to be on parole for so long, and this and that and this and that. And if you miss one meeting, it's a vicious cycle. Now, then on the other side, you hurt my grandchildren, and I'm going to want you to go somewhere.
Yeah,
So
exactly. It's two sides of the coin.
Yeah.
So, that's Pavlov, and Pavlov introduced classical conditioning. Then came behind him John Watson.
Andrew.
John Watson came with the social learning approach, called the Baby Albert experiment. Baby Albert was conditioned to be afraid of anything furry, then unconditioned so that he was no longer afraid. I don't think y'all understand what I'm saying. They took this baby and they used this baby in a science experiment. And they brought these animals out, and the baby wasn't scared of nothing. Then they taught the baby to be afraid of a rat. Okay? They conditioned the baby to be afraid of a rat. All right? So when the rats started coming out there, the baby got to be very afraid. And then the baby got to be afraid of anything that got fur on it. So they were teaching that fear is a learned response. It's a learned response. And then to prove it even more, they took the same baby and they conditioned the baby not to be afraid of anything again. Condition the baby to be afraid, condition the baby not to be afraid. Teaching that these are all learned behaviors. Okay? Our social behaviors are all learned. This is what the premise is now. You got to remember, I'm teaching behavioral theory. Okay? They strong on the behavior side. A lot of it is going to make sense. You may not agree with everything. I'm putting it out here though, just so y'all can understand the theory. Sister Knight, you with me? You follow me?
Yes, sir, I do.
I got you. Okay. Then you got this fella right here, B.F. Skinner. You saw him in the video. He came up with this thing, operant conditioning. Association made between a behavior and the consequences for that behavior. Explain how we acquire the range of learned behaviors exhibited day to day. So in other words, that go back to what Sister May was saying. You're driving down the road and you're saying, okay, if you do quiet for so long, then you get donuts. Okay? This is the kind of stuff that Skinner came in with. Okay? And if you give them donuts on this cycle and then you hit them again with donuts in 2 hours, then you can condition them to do anything you want them to do. That's behaviorism. You can condition a person, okay, to change. This is counseling, everybody. From where they are to anywhere you want them to be. If you condition their behavior with positive and negative reinforcements at the right time. Okay? That's where the power is, to be able to reinforce the desired behavior, and sometimes to punish the undesired behavior. You can condition the person to do anything. Skinner and Freud, and then we're about to wrap up for the night. Skinner and Freud, many people consider them to be polar opposites. We already talked about that a little bit. Remember, because Freud was looking deep. Skinner looking at the behavior. Skinner looking on the outside. Freud looking at the childhood, at the layers. Yet the reality is they're not polar opposites. Okay? Freud had a tremendous effect, influence, if you will, on Skinner. Okay? Freud had a big influence on Skinner. Skinner doing his research, he's citing and he referencing Freud's research. Remember now, Freud is somebody that, you know, people thought he was out there, he was crazy, he was weird, he had all that stuff. But anybody who was deep into the science, they stood on Freud's work. That's why I put him first. Skinner drew direct parallels to Freud in his analysis of the conscious and unconscious. Okay, and the impact of consequences on behavior. They both kind of had that. Both believed that a system of rewards and punishment was necessary to increase desired behavior. Freud believed that superego was created through the rewards and punishments that a child was given by the parents. And that's Freud now. He's going all the way back to childhood. And he's saying what you experienced in your childhood is kind of what shaped you today. We know that about Freud. We know that about it. He's saying you are who you are because of what you experienced in your childhood. Okay? Skinner, on the other hand, says you are what you are because I'm conditioning you right now to be that. Okay? They're different in their methodology, of course, and conclusions about the long-term effectiveness. Okay? See something. See something right here. Okay? Let me see something. I'm gonna stop. Let me stop. Okay. As we get ready to close out. Freud. Right? You are the way you are because your childhood shaped you. That's just who Minister is. Okay? That's just who he is. Ain't nothing gonna change him. Okay? That's his personality. It's shaped. All right? So it's with him. It's with him. Freud, on the other hand, Skinner. Mm-hmm. I got you. How did I get you here? How did I get you here? If you're Skinner, how did I get you here?
I conditioned you.
I conditioned you. I gave you what?
Rewards and punishment.
Yeah. I gave you rewards and I gave you punishment. Now, what happens if I stop giving you rewards?
You go back.
There you go. There it is. That's the difference right there. One said it's going to stay with you. You permanently change. You shape from your childhood. The other one said, if I don't continue with the rewards, okay, with the conditioning, you're going to go back. One said the effect is permanent. The other said the effect is temporary, if not continued. Okay? All right. We're done for tonight. Talk to me. What y'all think about behaviorism so far?
I think a little from all of them has a little part that's okay. Not
I
total.
hear you.
Mhm.
I hear you. Some of it kind of making sense.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's realistic. I mean, it's real. You can relate to what they're saying. When you start thinking about, when you really start thinking about it, it's realistic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
I
real,
said,
huh? It's real.
Mm-hmm.
I say the biggest thing with, especially with, operant conditioning and what Skinner was talking about. Okay, so if you break it down to bare text, we know that throughout my 40 years of life, like I said, what I learned from my family, what I experienced growing up, that helped to cultivate
Mhm.
who I am.
Mm-hmm.
But then at the same time, that doesn't always dominate how I behave.
Okay, look
Mhm.
at
It
you.
might feed into that, but
Okay.
then as I've learned right from wrong, I can
Mhm.
delineate between the two.
Mhm.
Okay.
But I think the problem with Skinner at times, like you said, everybody leans so heavy on Freud and then was looking like, okay, Freud got issues. But at the same time, it almost seemed like, Skinner's approach had issues too, because then
Yeah, I like it. I like it.
it starts to lean too much into being brainwashed.
Mhm.
Listen, that's good stuff. I love the way you're thinking. I love the way you're thinking. That's how I want y'all to do this.
Mhm.
That's exactly how I want y'all to do this. Oh, that's good, but it's got some issues too.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I love that. Yeah, that's good. So far, we got two theories, and both of them got good stuff,
Mhm.
but both of them got issues, don't they?
Mhm. And none of them fits everyone.
Right.
There you go. There you go. So now you see where we take an integrative approach.
Mhm.
Okay. It's what we recommend. All right. From the school of counseling, where I'm from, an integrative approach. Okay. So now you see how your paper is starting to be shaped up. Remember that paper that y'all gonna write?
Mm-hmm.
You see how it's starting to shape up? Making sense?
Yes, sir.
Now you see how that paper is starting to shape up. Okay? You could
One thing
see, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I always use this example, and it's kind of, but I know I'm talking with friends, and I'm from the deep South, the deep country. I was raised to where my parents, my mother-in-law, I mean, something as simple as cooking a good pan of collard greens and cornbread. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I mean, really.
Uh-huh.
But my mom and my mother-in-law could not eat those greens with a fork. It had to be with their hands.
Really?
So that was ingrained in me as a child. But then as I grew up and you get introduced to other people, that's just a no-no. So eventually, one day I was sitting with my mother-in-law, and she would always cook for me and my husband when we come to fried fish, the collard greens thing. And I took my fork and I started to eat. And I mean, she literally stood there and looked at me. And it was like, what in the world is this girl doing? So I was conditioned the way I was raised, but eventually you unconditioned because you go to a different a different level of whatever, not good or bad. I never made fun of her or anything like that. But I often tell, you know, if you're from the deep, deep South, some of the things you actually think are just for real are not for real. And then when you grow and go out into the world, you have to be somewhat careful because you can be ridiculed. And once again, you can become isolated. Because if you're a young college girl and everything you're doing seems to be wrong, then all of a sudden you don't want to be with those kids anymore. But it's just how you were conditioned as a child. But you can uncondition yourself if you want to at some point. I mean, if it was severe, you never went anywhere, never saw anything, you honestly wouldn't know that there was a difference. Just throw that out.
Well, that's good. I mean, you know, that aligns very well with what we're talking about tonight. Very much. Okay. Well, very good discussion. We will get into behaviorism techniques next week, and then I'll likely try to push through and do one more, because on the 30th, you know, we'll be getting close to kind of wrapping things up, because final exam week is the 7th, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. So we'll be moving pretty fast. We only have a couple more classes left, really. So wish forward. So next time we meet, Sister Lacey is going to share. We might talk about spiritual disciplines a little bit, okay? And then we'll finish up behaviorism, and then we'll get into our next theory as well, okay? And we'll likely cover 2 on the 30th, and that's where we're at. I want to try to do definitely 4 or 5 with you all. Introduce you to 4 or 5 theories, okay? And let you all kind of interact with those 4 or 5. It's looking like it may be 4 at this point. Okay? All right. Any final thoughts before we close out tonight?
There's so much to be thankful for. We as a people of color, I don't know what people, Democrat or Republican, but I can just say for myself, just glory, hallelujah to my God, and just so
Amen.
thankful.
I think we all feeling that gratitude, Sister Wellington. I think we all feeling that gratitude right now. Everybody
Yeah,
else
because
good?
they said, who would have thought that, in our lifetime, not only would we have the Barack Obama, our first African American president, I said, but then we got our sister, my sorority sister, Kamala Harris, as the first woman, period. Hello, can we say woman, period? And she African American, and she got some Indian, and she mixed all up in there, looking good. Almost 60 years old, but don't look like she's 30. Looking good up in there. And but like I said, all that in our livelihood, and to think of where we are, to think of where we're going, to think of where we've been, how far it's taken to get to where we are. It's a lot. 'Cause like I said, a lot of our ancestors, they didn't get to reach this point. So it's, it's definitely historical. It's definitely, just heart enriching. But at the same time, like we talked about, we have work to do. We don't want it to fall apart. And because we gotta get a baby something to do. So we gotta, like I said, we gotta keep pushing and say, hey, and see what else happens next. Because like I said, it's so rich in history. We got things. So I'm excited. I'm
excited too, Minister. I'm excited too, brother. I'm